My guest, former TNA wrestling superstar, current Wrestle America superstar, formerly also NWA Atlanta wrestling superstar. He's been all over the world. He's been all over the place. Several different promotions, several different championships. Please welcome at this time, he is the No Pain Train, Iceberg.
Hey, Brian. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, doing good, Iceberg. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. A little tired. I didn't get too much sleep last night, but other than that, I'm good.
Well, that's great. Just thankful to be here another day. You know what I mean.
Yeah, that's right.
Uh,
I appreciate that for me to be on here, man. It's an honor.
no problem. Uh, how did you get your start in the business?
Honestly, I got bored with life. And a buddy of mine knew somebody that was in the business, and I called him up and I said, when do these guys, the wrestle, I said, when do they train? And it just so happened that they were training that day, and I said, well, let's go over there and we'll meet the guy and let me check it out and see if it's something I'm interested in doing. Basically that's it. We went over, I met with the guy, saw that what he was doing wasn't what I wanted to be doing, because he had some guys out in his yard, basically breaking their backs, taking bump on the ground,
Hmm.
and yeah. But he had a show coming up, and he invited me to it. So I went to the show, and I was fortunate enough that I met Motor One at that show. And at the time they were running, I think twice a month out of the Armory in Marietta. And he said, he told me, if you want to learn how to do this, you can come up on Saturdays and help set the ring up, tear it down, clean the venue when it's over with. We'll get up the next morning, about 6 o'clock. They'll set the ring back up, and then we'll train all day on Sunday. And so that's what we did. That's what we did for about 6 months. We go up on the weekends and we set the ring up, put the chairs up, sweep the floor, do whatever needed to be done, and then we would train, for a good, 10 to 12 hours. It just depended on, how we were feeling. So that's basically how I got my start.
Well, I guess it took away your boredness for sure. I mean, I'm sure that you had a lot of exciting stuff go on. And speaking of exciting stuff, I was reading up on your resume, and you were actually trained by the legendary WWE Hall of Famer, the king and pioneer of hardcore wrestling, Abdullah the Butcher, also along with former Ring of Honor TNA wrestling superstar Homicide. What was that like?
Well, the homicide that they're referring to in that thing is actually Motor One.
Oh, okay. I got you.
What happened with that was at the time Motor One was homicide, and he was going on the road with New Jack for a while.
Uh-huh.
And they went up north, and homicide up there had already established a name for himself. And Jack just basically told him, look, we're going to have to change your name because, this guy's already established up here. So he just went from, homicide he kept me there. You know, he mentored me with that.
So I know that he was actually from, now this is from what I've read, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that he was actually the inspiration for you using the fork.
Yeah, yeah, he was. He was. Told me how to use it. So,
Well, I remember seeing him at NWA Atlanta whenever he fought. I don't know if, I can't remember if you were there at that show wrestling or not, but it was actually it was Middle Georgia Championship Wrestling at the time, and he was there wrestling Tommy Rich, and he pulled out that fork, and they were going back and forth, and blood was all over the place, and I was like, oh my goodness, I was like, I never seen anything like this before, and I thought, man, that's some crazy stuff, and I never will forget. I'll tell you a funny story real quick, Iceberg, about Abdullah. He was there signing autographs, that night, and he was sitting at the table, and this little kid walks over to him, and he walks over to him, and he says, "Sir, can you sign my autograph?" And the manager, the promoter, he's supposed to, be kind of ill, like, in character, and he says, "Yeah, kid, go get a pen." And he says, "Okay, I'll go get a pen." So I'm standing there in line with my brother, and back when my brother was living, Daniel, and he looked at me and he said, "Hey," he said, "Won't you get your picture made with him?" I said, I don't know about that." And so he said, "You need to." He said, "Go and get your picture made with him." I said, "Okay." So, I got to say, I have met a lot of professional wrestlers throughout my life, but Abdullah scared me because I got over to him and I'm standing there and he just sits there and he doesn't say anything, and he looks up at me, and I said, "What is it?" And he kind of nods his head down, and I said, "You want me to sit down?" And he shakes his head, yes. So I sit down and I'm holding, and he puts his hand out, and he's got a strong tight grip on me. Well, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh Lord, I hope he don't pull out no fork or try to attack me or nothing, And then the cameraman, then they make the picture and everything, and I get up and walk off. But I got to tell you, for those few seconds, I was terrified because I didn't know what Abdullah was going to do. And another story that I remember, and then we'll get back into your interview. Just want to tell you a little bit about Abdullah that I've heard through the years. Randy All, who's known to everybody as Randy Rhodes, his mother Ellen, his late mother Ellen, I got the chance to go to his house where he grew up at and meet her before she passed away, and she was telling me that one Thanksgiving that they had Abdullah the Butcher there for Thanksgiving. And I said, "Really?" She said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, what was that like?" I said, was it kind of crazy?" She said, "No." She said, "He was nice and, down to earth and everything." I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, that's pretty interesting,." But,
if you get to know him, man, he's one of the, honest to God, he's one of the sweetest people on this earth. I mean, he really is. He's absolutely one of the nicest people. Soft-spoken, but, he's very kind to people. He's nothing what he portrayed himself to be, all those years in the ring.
so how is how's he doing now? Have you seen him lately, or?
I talked to him last week. I called him sporadically to check on him, and he's doing pretty good. He was, I think he was in New York when I talked to him. So he's got about 10 pounds that he's got to lose, and then they're going to do a double hip replacement on him.
Oh man.
Yeah, he's been working on, dropping. He had to drop some weight to do that. So he's been working on that for a while, but he's gotten down
Mm. Well, we'll be praying for him, and I hope everything turns out good with that. Uh, I know that your career. Can you tell everybody before the years of and we'll get into this a little bit later. Before the years of TNA, can you tell everybody where your career started out at?
Um, the first job that I got really, while I was latched on to, an actual company working, was a little company called IW, run by Don Lewis, and, Murder One, and, Jimmy Mays, several other guys. We all went there and worked, and, so we all trained together. I don't know if you know this, but Murder One, he trained me, he trained, Jimmy Mays, he trained, Corey Chavis, and I believe he had a hand in training, Chip Day as well. So, we all kind of, you know, come up together, and then, I blew my knee out about 6 months into the business, and, I got a phone call one day, while I was sitting at home basically saying that, that I was fired, my services were no longer needed, after I blown my knee out to the company.
Uh-huh.
So, I healed up, and then, I moved on to a little company, up in Chattanooga called UW, Short Board Extreme Wrestling, and, that's where I met Tank. And, from the very first night that we met, like, we just clicked, and, we've kind of been inseparable ever since. So,
Now I know you've had matches. I know you had a match in Japan. You beat a guy by the name. I think his name was Tojo. Tojo.
Mr. Pogo,
Yes, Pogo. Yes.
yeah.
I know you beat him, and I know that was quite a tremendous career accomplishment for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was the first time I'd gone over, and, gone over to Japan, and, like, he's like, well, he's one of the top guys there, period. And, I was told that I was going over on him, and that kind of scared me because he's got this big, long, sickle-looking knife thing that he uses. And, I said, oh shit, he's gonna,
Yeah.
he's gonna stab me in the back, stab my throat once. But, yeah, man, got there, and, he was nothing but business. It was very much an honor to work with him, and for him to put me over, that meant a
Yeah.
lot to me. Because I was the new guy coming in, and I was beating the top guy in the company. So, yeah, and that was a pretty overwhelming trip to go do that.
Well, I also know that you've had quite a few battles with New Jack and with Abyss and some of these other guys. Out of all and I also know that you beat Abdullah the Butcher to win the Brass Knuckles World Heavyweight Title.
Right.
Out of all those guys, though, out of those guys I named, Abyss, let's throw Murder One in the equation, New Jack, Abdullah the Butcher. Who do you think's the hardcorest of them all to fight against? I mean,
Oh, God, New Jack. It had to be New Jack. God bless him. I love him to death, but he'd be the one I'd have to say. I mean, because he has no limits. still talk. I met him probably. I met him. Matter of fact, I met him the same day that I met Abdul. It was on the same show, and I met both of them on the same day, and that was in '99. So I've known him for, let's see, 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and we still keep in touch. I think he's living up in Jersey now. But he's doing good. He's doing real good.
That's good. I want to let the fans know if you have any comments or questions for Iceberg during this series finale telecast of the WSE Lounge. Please leave your questions or comments below in the comment section, and we appreciate that. So let's move on to TNA. And I know in TNA that you had a match. I know you had quite a few matches, but one of the matches you had, you fought Norman Smiley on an episode of TNA Explosion, I believe it was, that they taped. What was that like for you fighting Norman Smiley, being him being a former hardcore champion from WCW, and him originating the Big Wiggle?
You know, that one was actually for the pay-per-view. But no, Norman was a quiet back. I got a lot of respect for him. The respect that I have for him is what basically cost me my job at TNA. Like, they wanted me to go out, and Scott Moore in particular, who was listening, who can kick my ass. He basically wanted me to go out and job out Norman. And at that point in time, Norman had been in business for probably around 18, 20 years. And I wouldn't do it. I had too much respect for him. You know, I didn't see why we couldn't go out and, tell the same story with and have the same ending without me killing him off,
So who was that exactly that did that, you said?
Scott Demore.
Oh, Scott Demore, the guy that used to be with Team Canada.
Yeah, that guy.
Wow.
Yeah, he was one of the booking agents. And so he got mad. He got mad because I didn't go out and job out Norman. So they took me on pay-per-view the next week. And then the following week, they had me wrestle the Sandman, which was supposed to be like a couple of months down the road. I was supposed to work with him. And we went into the booking meeting, and me and Scott and Sandman. And Sandman was just like passed out drunk in the booking meeting. And Scott Demore was looking at me and he said to me, he's going out and he's going to drive you out, and, it's going to be like 3-minute match, and that's it. And I just looked at him, and I got up and walked out of the room, and I guess he woke Sandman up, and he came out to find me, and he was drunk. And he come out to tell me, that, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. And I said, no, that's not what we're going to do. Like, you're not going to job me out. I said, I've worked too hard to develop this character. At the time, I've been in the business for about 5 years. I said, I worked too hard to develop this character to have, you and TNA and Scott Demore, whoever sits on it. So, I said, you're not going to drive me out. I said, I'll do what I do, and I'll put you over. But, you're not going
Uh-huh.
and that's what happened. I mean, I went out and I did what I said I was going to do, and he didn't drop me out. So, you know, and I wouldn't go back and change in there for nothing, you know.
So at
So,
that, I didn't mean to cut you off. So at that time, Jeff Jarrett was still running the company, or who was in charge? Because I know it wasn't Dixie Carter.
it was him and Jerry. Him and Jerry still owned it. Now, Dixie was around at that point in time. Like I'd seen her like in the arena, like in the playground in Nashville. I'd seen her in the arena a couple of times, but I didn't see who she was then.
Uh-huh.
You know, I had no idea. You know, didn't know that she would be the one that would be buying the company, because I didn't think that Jerry and Jeff would ever sell it.
Uh-huh.
You know, I thought that was something that they would hang on to, especially, you know, with the way things went down with Jeff leaving WWF, you know, back in the day. You know, I thought that would, you know, maybe be job security for him, you know, from now on. But, you know, it surprised me when they told it, and it surprised me when I realized who bought it. So,
Iceberg, the no pain train Iceberg, and you know, you were talking about you didn't ever think that that TNA the Jarretts would sell, you know, TNA to Dixie Carter, and I didn't actually think, you know, that either. Well, actually, Panda Energy, you know, if you want to call it that, because they basically gave the company to her. But I want to ask you, back when you were working there, what was the atmosphere like backstage, working with some of the writers? I mean, was Dutch Mantel there at that time, and Vince Russo?
I think Russo had just come in. And Jeff was in, I don't recall meeting him. Honestly, I don't recall meeting Dutch. I know Dutch kept me out of Puerto Rico at one point, because he was looking for Carlos Colon down there, and
Uh-huh.
I sent down like you know, like a video package or whatnot, trying to get a job down there, and I called him one day after, you know, after I knew he had gotten it, and you know, I told him who I was, and you know, I asked him, you know, what he thought. He was like, "Good, I can't bring it down here. You'll kill my baby face." And I said, "Well, don't, you know, bring me into the baby face. Don't bring me down there, you know."
Uh-huh.
You know? And he wouldn't budge on it. But, you know, after that, I wound up going anyway. Once Dutch was gone, I wound up going anyway. So, but no, I don't recall seeing Dutch there. He was, you know, he was off my corner to himself. I didn't deal too much with the writer, and I can tell you that Jeff and Jerry were both, and still are, wonderful people. I got nothing but respect for Jeff Jarrett and his father. They treated me, you know, they treated me great while I was there. So, I got nothing but good things to say about those guys.
Well, I have to honestly agree with you on one part. I mean, I've never had the opportunity of meeting Jerry Jarrett, but I met Jeff Jarrett when they came down to Wrestle America. I believe you were there too, Iceberg. And oh yeah, that's right. Because it was Luke Gallows, and then Tyson Dean was out there, and you were out there, and Jarrett come out there. But you know, meeting Jarrett and Karen, and I know Jarrett's kids and Kurt Angle's kids, Cody and Kiera and Jocelyn, meeting them. They all just seem like a very loving family, that truly loved the business, and not only that, but you could tell that they put each other first, and they put family first, and that's what it's all about. And you don't see that often in professional wrestling or any other industry or business, anymore. And that's one thing I truly respected. And the last question I have for you on TNA: what was the working atmosphere like at the time that you were there? Was there any politics or anything like that, or did everybody seem to get along pretty good?
I mean, you had your cliques there. But, I mean, I didn't get involved with that, the people that I knew there, I was comfortable with. Jeff, he was always wonderful to me. Bill Barron, I knew Bill from Wildside. He ran the gorilla position. And then Dave John and AJ both were up there. So I pretty much just kind of stuck with people I knew, and try not to get involved with the politics and all the other BS that goes along with the business. I mean, every guys up there trying to cut people's throats before, they knew that thing would even get off the ground. So.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
I know that you talked about Bill Behrens, and I know something funny this is back when Jason was when we were on Blog Talk Radio over there. Jason was on as co-host, and he's of course the ring announcer at Peach State Wrestling Lights where Bill Behrens works at, and he was talking about. They were talking about we were discussing something about a tournament or a championship match, something coming up, and I told Jason, and I made this, and I didn't read no dirt sheets or anything like that, and I didn't hear anything, and I just made this prediction because I've been watching wrestling since I was a kid, my whole life basically, and I can sometimes, and other people can do this too. You can sometimes look at it, and you can sometimes, not always, but you can sometimes predict what somebody's going to do next or what's going to happen. And yeah, you can. And I told Jason on that show, I said, what would happen if Bill Behrens come out there and he turned bad in the main event and joined? I believe it was. Matter of fact, I believe Jimmy Rave was wrestling in the main event to crown a new Peach State World Champion, and he may have been fighting Kyle Matthews. I can't remember, but I said, what would happen if Bill Behrens come out there and he turned bad and shot the world? He said, oh, I've been knowing Bill for years. I said, that ain't going to happen. And then he come back on the next day and said, I got to owe you an apology. He said, it happened. He said, Bill Behrens turned bad and got his own group now and turned, he's a heel now, and he said, he shocked everybody. He said, but you're right, though. I said, well, I was just throwing it out there. I said, it's not too surprising,
Yeah.
Now, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Heck of a character, man.
He really is. I know that he really gets into the sport, and he seems to know what he's doing, on the booking and all of that,
Bill has absolutely got one of the most brilliant minds in the wrestling business. I mean, he's honest to God. He's just, if TNA didn't want to be a championship, which obviously they did, because they kept the writers around, they did keep around, they would have hired Bill Behrens to be a writer, and he could have turned that show around and made something.
Yeah.
With the talent pools they got, or that they had down there, something special, but they just, I think they willing to fail. I honestly, God, I think they're willing to fail.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they weren't making the right moves with people to get no idea about pro wrestling and stuff.
Oh, that's right, because I can remember. I remember watching TNA, and they said they got a big surprise, and all of a sudden I see Tito Ortiz walk out, and I'm like, what? And then I see these other UFC guys walk out, and there's nothing wrong with you. I mean, Ken Shamrock did it, and Brock Lesnar's done it, and CM Punk's done it. But I mean, the way I look at professional wrestling is, I don't think it's Michael Jordan's place or Tiger Woods' place or Tony Romero's place to come over to wrestling and say, oh, I'm going to be a professional wrestler. Now I know some of the guys that have gotten the business used to be ex-NFL football players like Roman Reigns and Ron Simmons and Steve Mongo Michaels and some of these other guys and Goldberg and, Brock Lesnar, and, they did really good at it, But I just don't see it as as like a celebrity thing, if you know what I mean. Like, for instance, when WCW, they had David Arquette win the world title. I thought that was the stupidest thing that I ever seen.
Yeah, they should have put that bell right there and laid the middle of the ring and poured lighter fluid on the whole thing and set it on fire.
Yeah.
Because that was the most ridiculous thing that I've ever seen in my life.
I agree. It was just outlandish and crazy. Now, I'm not going to do a name game because a lot of people don't like the name game, but I am going to bring up two names to you, Iceberg, that I just want to know. I don't want to sentence or anything. I just want your honest opinion of what you think of these two names, and if you've ever had the pleasure of working with them. One of those names is Paul Heyman.
I never got a chance to work with Paul. But I have met him, and he is one of the most polite people that I've ever come in contact with. He really is. I mean, he went out of his way to come and introduce himself to myself and a couple of the guys that I was backstage with. Just wicked nice guy, and probably the most brilliant mind the business has ever had. I mean, I honestly believe that.
I have to agree on that. I know that I believe that there's I believe there's probably more, but about four brilliant minds come to my head when I think of, well, five brilliant minds come to my head when I think of brilliant minds in wrestling. That's Eric Bischoff, Jim Cornette, Paul Heyman, Michael P.S. Hayes, and Jim Ross. I think they've all got brilliant minds, and I know some people can go back and say, well, look what happened to Nitro in the final days. Well, that's not entirely Eric Bischoff's fault. I mean, if you ask me, and if you ask my personal opinion, and this is actually another guy I wanted to mention to you, what you thought of him, is Vince Russo. I mean, in my personal opinion, Russo ruined WCW whenever he did that to Hulk Hogan. That was totally crazy, and come on there and said, I promise you that blah, 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 he'll never appear on this show again, and he messed up, I don't know how many months of storylines they had planned out. I mean,
Yeah, at the end of it, I think this show was basically just like on that talent. I mean, I don't think they were taking any of his ideas or his opinions seriously. So I think that he was basically just on that talent as to God only knows how and why. Because I don't get it. You know, if the people down at WCW thought that he was what made, you know, WWE or WWF so great, then their mind could have been changed really quick when he came down there and their boat started to sink and, you know, WWE ship started to sail quicker, you know, and was getting further and further past them. You know.
Yeah,
the
and
thing difference between the two companies, though, is that there were so many bosses at WCW that, you know, there was not one person that had the final say. You know, whereas, you know, at WWE, Vince McMahon has always had the final say. You know,
that's
everything goes through him, and he has the final say. So if it's wonderful, then it's, you know, it's his idea, but if it sucks, it was his idea to go through with it, and, you know, he'll take the blame for it. You know, whereas then at WCW, everybody wants to point fingers. Well, it's his fault. Well, it's so-and-so's fault. Well, it's so-and-so's. No, it's all your fault because you're a bunch of idiots.
you know that's right. I remember when Eric Bischoff was on the show. Eric Bischoff told us he said that, you know, when he was down at WCW that he didn't know from one day to the next who in the world. I mean, you had all these guys surrounding the table that really didn't even know anything about. You know, they were down at Turner Broadcasting, and they didn't know anything about a wrestling show. And he said, you know, he walked in and he was made the president, and he was like, "Wow, you know, I'm going to be the president." And all these times, you know, I would have little jokes, you know, and stuff. I mean, he said, "Now I'm going to be the president, you know, of the company." And he said, "I didn't know who the boss was from one day to another, who I, you know, directing stuff." And then in WWE, he said that he knew who the boss was. It was always, you know, Vince McMahon. And another thing he said was back in '98, he said if he would have, I believe it was '98 or '99. He said if he would have listened to his heart then, because he's seen the fine lining on the wall in painting as a phrase. He said that if he would have listened to himself then, he would have got out of WCW then. He would have left because he seen it then that it was going downhill and crumbling. You know, he seen it was like a sinking ship. And but another thing that I want to ask you about Paul Heyman. Do you think you there?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said hello.
No.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood you. Sorry about that. I thought. Do you think that if Paul Heyman somehow would have been able to purchase TNA, do you think that TNA would be a lot bigger than what it is?
You know, I think that Paul could have made that company worth watching. He's another one of those guys that he could have turned that place around, I believe. If it was him and he didn't have to answer to anybody and could do like he wanted to do, kind of like he did with ECW before, you know, ECW actually got on the network. So that was ECW's downfall when they got on the network. You know, they had to answer to TNA or whatever that damn channel was.
Yeah.
But if he could have taken the reins of that company and did with it what he wanted to do, that company could have really been something. It could have been something special because there's been a lot of great talent that came out of there, and that's really the talent that is still there. You know, but there's some guys that are there still because they don't have another option. You know, they tried to leave, but nobody else wants them. You know?
Yeah.
And won't say any names, but Robert Roode, Bobby Roode left, and the other half of their money is still there. If you hear what I'm saying.
Yeah, and something that I know this is not, it's not funny, but you look at it and you think kind of it is kind of funny in a way. And what I mean by that is, Bobby Roode was working with TNA at the time. Cowboy James Storm goes over to NXT. He comes out there, he does real good, gets a big reception from the crowd. And then he leaves because I know that WWE, from what I understand, was not going to pay him that much money to stay with the company and stay with NXT. He then leaves NXT, goes back over to TNA, makes a shocking appearance, helps Bobby Roode. They reform Beer Money. They do all the cheers, say Beer Money and all that, and then the next thing you know, Bobby Roode leaves and he goes over to the same place James Storm came from, NXT, and then James Storm is stuck over in TNA.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny in a way, but it's also sad because those guys made such a good team. But it's it's unfortunate that happened.
Yes, I mean they were an awesome team. But James, God bless him, and I don't know, maybe he's a really good guy. I don't know. But I know before he went to TNA, I was looking at Philip in Rome, Georgia, and we had him and Chris Harrison when they were Maximum Talent. And I was looking there, and he never spoke to me not one time while he was there. He walked past, and I just said, screw it.
Wow.
I don't know who you think he is.
Yeah.
He's on, at the time, I'm thinking he's on a pay-per-view wrestling show that, probably only 10,000 people are watching every week, if that. And that's why I think it's just it's ironic that Bobby Roode is the one that got the job because he was the workhorse of the team. And to me, James Storm was a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
And that's why he's still up where he is.
Well, speaking of NXT, what are your thoughts on Triple H apparently having the ownership, boss, or whatever over the company and building that up? Because I've talking to people in the past and they say that NXT is an alternative to SmackDown and Raw. Well, that may be the case, but NXT is still under even though Triple H is calling the shots, NXT is still under the WWE umbrella, so to speak, and so they're not really competition to WWE because they're not another unity or another company altogether, ran by somebody else. I mean, it'd be like when WCW went out of business and Shane came out there and he said, I'm the owner of WCW and I signed the contract and all that stuff. Well, it would be like if they kept WCW around, you would see on TV that Shane was the owner of WCW, but you would know in reality, okay, this is all owned by Vince McMahon. This is all owned by WWE, and even though they're doing this competition thing on TV, I know in reality that it's under the WWE umbrella, and they're still just competing against each other.
Yeah, I mean, Vince does own the company, but that's Triple H's baby, and he basically, raised it, from the crawling stages under everybody's ass down there, and he wants them to put on a better show, wrestling-wise, than what you see on Monday and Tuesday night. I mean, because those kids down there, I mean, they get it. You know?
Yeah.
They really do. They get it. And, I mean, you see how many of them are moving up, how quick they're moving up from NXT to the main roster. So, I mean, he's doing something right because, I mean, he's getting these guys moved up, he's getting them on TV, and he's getting them exposure like they've never had before, you know.
That's true. And one thing I do want to bring up, you was talking about moving up quickly. I think of 5 different people moving up quickly in NXT because I know in NXT they were over with the crowd, they were awesome, and I don't know if it's because Vince McMahon does not like them or what, but I've noticed that Tyler Breeze, the Vaudevillains, and the Ascension have just turned into like jobbers or something. I mean, I don't know what's happened.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I really don't. I don't know if it's. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. But I mean, you look at Enzo and Cass, how they've come up, and they're super over. Before he got hurt, Finn Balor, like, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They wanted him a year ago. We wanted him on the main roster a year ago. And Triple H was like, no, don't pull the trigger on it yet.
Yeah.
Let's have him down here. So basically what NXT does is it gives you a platform to perform on, but he's there to teach these guys camera angles.
Yeah.
When to play to the camera. Don't look directly into the camera if you ever pay attention to like NXT and, the guys are coming to the ring or whatever. Nobody ever looks straight into the camera. They look off to the side.
Yeah.
They never look straight into the camera. And, I never understood that until, like when we did the first Raw spot that we did, the first two spot we did that Big Show and McMahon spot. The one thing Shane McMahon said to us was, if the guys go out there and have fun, just don't look at the camera. And I didn't get that at first.
Uh-huh.
But then the more I thought about it was, if you're looking right at that camera, then obviously there's millions of people that are seeing you, but you want to look beyond that camera. And that's the way I took it, is to look beyond the camera.
Uh-huh.
Look beyond it, because there's something more out there than just what's in that land. So, and that's what they do in there. They teach these guys, not to, how to work the crowd, how to work in front of a camera, and do stuff like that.
Now you had brought up Enzo and Cass, and one quick tidbit I wanted to mention to you. A couple weeks ago, I had I sent Diamond Dallas Page a picture of Enzo, and I told him, I said, I don't know about you, but I said Enzo, he reminds me of a younger you on the microphone. And Dallas Page responded back, and he said, you know what? He said, I love that guy, and he said, I get that from everybody. And he really does, though. I mean, if you listen to him and you watch his charisma in the ring, it's like watching DDP all over again in his younger days.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, He was it.
Yeah.
And that crown is like right is word for word, with him there, just like they were with The Rock or Steve Austin.
That's right.
Like that. And I mean, and I'm happy for the guys. I really am. I really am happy for the guys.
And also, I know they compare Chad Gable and Jason Jordan, Alpha America. They compare them to the Steiner brothers, and I can kind of see that how they're compared to them. But I don't know that I don't think they'll ever be, what the Steiner brothers were. I mean, the Steiner brothers basically held every tag team belt there was, and something that's always eluded me that I don't really get is the Dudley Boys. And what I mean by that, no disrespect to the Dudley Boys, they're one of the best tag teams ever, but what really eludes me is how they say they're former WCW tag team champions. Well, in my opinion, they were in a Vince McMahon version of this WCW. They were never on Nitro, on Thunder, on Saturday Night. They were never a part of WCW World Championship Wrestling. So in my mind, they were never WCW Tag Team Champions because they never actually worked for the company.
Right. That's right. That was in the whole alliance, angle, so,
Yeah.
that was, and that's just so different people were saying stuff or whatever. So I'd like to mention also, though, I see who they remind me of, and who I would love to see them work with, and that's Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Hall. That's who they remind me of.
I agree with you that I agree with you on that. There we go. 100%. If there was a blooper reel, that'd probably be a blooper. But I agree with you because I know something about they were talking about if Kurt Angle came back, they were talking about having Kurt Angle possibly with American Alpha, and I've heard something about once Shelton Benjamin gets over his injury, that he's going to come back to WWE and be with Jack Swagger, and I think possibly American Alpha in a shooter type group. But I think last I heard was Vince McMahon shot that whole idea down due to I think he didn't think that he thought it would mess up the American Alpha, which I kind of agree with that. I mean, if they were to turn heel. And I'm glad that they turned the Usos heel and they're not coming out there doing the let me hear you say ooh and I say ah, because that really got on my nerves.
Right. Well, and that's the thing I don't understand is, I mean, they pulled the trigger on claiming the Usos, and the Usos are over bigger than shit now because they're heel.
Yeah.
Why they want to do that with Roman Reigns, I have no idea. I have no idea why they wouldn't turn him.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. I mean, because if they turned him heel, he would be over big time with the fans as well. But I mean, it's just crazy stuff. But back to your career, Iceberg. Didn't mean to get off topic here, but we just got talking about everything. But back to your career. I know that you also tag team with a one-man gang, and I believe you held some tag team titles with him. What was that like?
Well, we never held any tag team titles, but we worked together down in Puerto Rico, and that was quite an experience. I mean, he's obviously someone I looked up to and pretty intimidating, if you don't know him. But we
man.
We might have been at the baseball stadium. It's Hiram B. Stadium. I believe how you pronounce it. That's the name of the ball stadium down there.
Uh-huh.
And the funny, I was not funny. The irony in this whole thing is that, I loved Bruiser Birdie as a kid. And the booker at the time was the guy that killed Birdie. When I was down there, he was the guy that killed Birdie.
That's crazy.
I had to go into before we went out to our match. We had to go in and talk to the booker, and he kind of gives you the idea of what he wants, what he doesn't want. But it was eerie because he was in the shower area. There's like some benches in the stadium area where the shower is.
Uh-huh.
And that's where he stabbed Birdie. Was in that shower room, where I had to go and meet with him. That was a little eerie. Because Birdie actually died on my birthday.
Oh my goodness.
I've always felt, some kind of connection with Bruiser Birdie.
Uh-huh.
And it kind of came full circle, with me going down there and working in that stadium, where that unfortunately happened to him, and having the man that, that ended his life, wound up being someone that I had to deal with, like as a boss.
So let me ask you this. Was this before or after what happened to Brody? Was this before or after?
When I went down there?
Yes, sir.
It was after. Yeah, it was after.
So how did the boss? He's the one that killed Brody. Was it accidental? Did he get off, or what happened?
No, he got off. He got off.
Uh-huh.
I mean, because nobody would testify. Nobody would testify against him.
Uh-huh.
There wasn't enough evidence. I think Tony Atlas is the only guy that kind of knows what happened
Uh-huh.
down there. Brody had actually brought a picture of his son down and was going to giving it to Tony. Because Tony's an artist. And he was going to have Tony do a drawing of his son. And he was, going to just do another gift. And when I believe it's on YouTube, you can look for it.
Okay.
That has Tony talking about it. But I believe Tony said in the interview that he was doing when he got into the shower area, that picture of Bruiser's kid was floating away in a pool of blood.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah. But the guy didn't get in trouble. That's where I had to.
Wow.
That's who the book was when I got down there. So,
Well, I know that was a very uncomfortable experience for you.
oh, it was, man. It was because, of course, I was down there and, I'm with the woman then, and she got to go in there and talk to, I can't remember what his name is.
Uh-huh.
The in my head before I go in there.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's what Birdie got killed, and you got to go talk to the man that killed him. So, you know, you got to deal with that. But
Well, I want to ask you about One Man Gang. Have you heard from him lately? Because the last I heard, I know he had made a trip down to the and we will not get into this again on the show, but I know he made a trip down to the Dudley disaster in Dudley, Georgia, and from Louisiana. His house is already flooded, and he got back, and I know that he had lost his house and everything. Is he? Do you know how he's doing or anything?
I haven't spoken with him. I really had.
Uh huh.
I need to check up on him and see, because I know he had that big family page, and it was doing pretty good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hopefully they can, you know, they can get back partially, you know, what they lost. I mean, I know, like a lot of his wrestling memorabilia, he said that he lost all that. He lost like studio library of, you know, over 20-something years. You know, just a lot of irreplaceable stuff that you know, just gone.
That's horrible. What was it like for? What was it like for? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I couldn't imagine, you know, something like that happening, and you know, just losing everything, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that I could either. One other thing that I wanted to mention to you. I know. Well, actually, ask you about, not mention to you. I know you were one half of the NWA Atlanta World Tag Team Champions with Luke Gallows. What was that like?
It was awesome, man. I mean, it was a complete surprise. But I mean, it was pretty awesome, man. You know, I won the Georgia, you know, the NWA Georgia title, 3 different occasions. You know, through Wildfire and Anarchy, 4 times actually. You know, like I said, through Wildfire and Anarchy. But then, it wasn't the NWA Atlanta titles, it was the NWA Southern title.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, that was a pretty cool deal too. I mean, you know, just looking back at the lineage of those titles and the people that carried them, you know, and then for me to have the opportunity to, you know, to carry it with Luke, you know,
Yeah.
that was a pretty cool deal. So.
Well, I wanna ask you real quick, Iceberg. Do you have anything you'd like to promote to the fans?
I mean, just people with me on my Facebook page. You can find me on, you can for me in the No Pain Train fan page, or the No Pain Train fan page. Then look on my personal page, Edward Chastain. I keep that one updated mostly. The Edward Chastain page on Facebook. But I try to keep up, you know, where I'm going to be. I know this weekend I'm in Barnesville. So that fight's going to be there. At WrestleMania. Next Saturday, I'm in Buchanan, Georgia. UIW, doing a bull rope match with Bobby Hayes. 23rd, back in Atlanta for AWE at Opera Nightclub. At AWE's return, typical hiatus. Actually, if you want to see the Cruiserweight Classic tournament, that
Uh-huh.
He's going to be in Atlanta at the AWE show on the 23rd. He's wrestling a guy named Martin Stone, or if you see him on NXT, Danny Burke, who is an amazing talent. Both of these guys are amazing. But why Martin Stone or Danny Burke, whatever you want to call him, doesn't have a contract yet with somebody is beyond me, because that guy is amazing.
Wow.
Amazing. So, just off the top of my head, that's three that I can think of. And I think that the 29th, I think I'm back in Buchanan for UIW. So, like I said, if they just keep up with me on my Facebook page, they'll see where I'm at,
Okay.
where I'm going,
Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on, Iceberg. It was a pleasure talking to you on this series finale show, and I wish you the best in all you do, sir. And I'll keep in contact with you.
Yeah, please do, man. Like I said, I appreciate you having me on, especially with doing the series finale. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be on here and spend the last hour or so with you. So I appreciate you having me on.
You're very welcome.
All right, bro. I'll see you down the road.
Okay. Take care. God bless. Bye bye. Ladies and gentlemen, that was former TNA wrestler, current Wrestle America wrestler, AWE wrestler, the No Pain Train Iceberg.